When you stop texting her, it's not tears and love songs that she's thinking about. It's a reality check with a twist of Stoicism. You see, Stoics teach us about detachment and the power of focusing on what we can control, which is a lot like what she's thinking about when you stop texting her all the time. She's not pining. She's thinking about how you've gone from being boring to interesting, and she might even wonder if you've decided to stop following the crowd and instead stand out. You might think she's dying for your return, but she might just be playing emotional peekaboo. She leaves and then returns to observe your response. Guess what? Most people think you'll react the same way you always do. But here's a somber take on it. What if you make a different choice? What if your silence speaks volumes about your mental health and self-worth? Do not just stand there. Take action. Who knows? Maybe she'll start looking for the wonder you've become. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell too. Bell. Let's learn more about Stoic thinking and make things right for you. Stay tuned and let's find our way back together. The first sensation is that of rejection. Let's discuss a topic we've all experienced but seldom discuss. Rejection. We've all experienced the gut-wrenching, ego-bruising experience of rejection, which no one wants to acknowledge. Imagine this. You stop chasing her, and you disappear all of a sudden like a ghost. One moment, you captivated her with your undivided attention, and suddenly you vanish, shattering her sense of control. It's as if you've vanished completely. At first, she might not pay attention, but soon she realizes what's really going on. Suddenly, she goes from feeling like the queen of the universe to wondering what happened. What did I do wrong, and why isn't he interested anymore? Her ego once again takes a hit. Sky-high drops, and this is where the real emotional roller coaster starts. She feels sad. It's not just that you're not paying attention to her. She feels like you've forgotten about her, and the time you spent with her now seems pointless. Trust me. Every unread message and missed call leaves her wondering, did I say something wrong? Was I not as interesting as I thought? She's looking for answers where there are none. But when anger sets in, she begins to wonder, who does he think he is, disappearing like that? How dare he disregard me for her sake? Her ego, now wounded, fights back. She's mad at you, of course, but the anger often turns inward too. She starts wondering what I did wrong and why wasn't I enough, and the comparison game begins. Maybe you're with someone else. Maybe you're playing games with her emotions. It eats at her, and then comes the shame. Oh, the shame of rejection. It's as if she's a weak girl, hiding behind a facade. She fakes a smile, trying to maintain appearances in her mind. She imagines everyone viewing her as the girl who couldn't hold your attention, the one who was publicly abandoned. This is where Stoicism comes into play. You've stepped back, not to provoke a reaction, but because you've embraced a philosophy of letting things unfold naturally without attachment, and while you've stepped away, she's in full reflection mode. Her mind replays every conversation, every small gesture, and every glance shared between the two of you. She begins to contemplate what she could have done differently, should she have been warmer or colder. Played hard to get this self. While contemplation can be beneficial, it can also be exhausting. While she's busy analyzing every little thing, you're just living your life without any worries. The key to getting through this isn't manipulation. It's realizing that you can't control other people's feelings or reactions. By stepping back and not expecting anything in return, you keep your peace of mind. If you don't care about her, she won't come back. Caring too much gives her power, but indifference is the ultimate trump card. To sum up, rejection hurts and makes both of you think, question, and wonder. But here's the Stoic truth. You decide how much you let it affect you. If you walk away and keep walking, letting her wrestle with her own thoughts, you'll realize that peace lies in detachment. Don't look back. Let her figure out how she feels while you move on, stronger and less upset. Before we move on to the next point, take a moment to think about your own rejections. How did they change your thoughts, actions, or even your sense of self-worth? Was there ever a time when stepping back gave you the peace and clarity you needed? Don't be shy about sharing what you've learned in the comments, or just type "Peace lies in detachment" to remind yourself of how powerful it is to let go. Now let's move on to number 2, which is the feeling of missing something. It's amusing how people, especially women, start to value you the moment you're no longer in their immediate reach. It's almost like a psychological game, and believe me, it's fascinating to watch. You haven't left her forever, but as soon as you stop chasing her, everything changes. Your absence unexpectedly triggers a wave of emotions she wasn't prepared for. Suddenly she's overwhelmed with the fear of losing you, and that's when she realizes how much she really cared. The irony lies in the fact that despite your presence, providing her with your time and energy, and demonstrating your kindness, she hardly recognized you as anything more than a mere companion. You were just another guy who was there for her when she needed it. But when you step back and disappear into the background, that's when her world flips upside down. Really, all it took was your sudden disappearance, and boom, now you're the prize she didn't even know she wanted. In that moment, something changes within her. The feeling of loss, or rather, the fear of losing you, becomes the driving force. She starts to replay every memory in her mind like an endless movie reel. Those moments you shared, the laughter, and even the smallest, most mundane conversations now seem like precious gems. It's as if your absence elevates you to an untouchable status in her mind. She begins to wonder, have I really lost him? Is there still a chance to fix this? At that point, her overthinking spirals into a cycle of self-doubt and panic, scrutinizing every interaction like a detective searching for clues. Clues to where things went wrong. Let's be honest here, she hasn't actually lost anything. You didn't have a big fight. There was no dramatic breakup. You simply became unavailable, and that's when the magic happened. Stoicism teaches us that we often imagine loss more than we actually experience it. In her case, it's the fear of losing something that makes her feel like she can't breathe. The unknown may be what's making her so upset. But the Stoic truth is that this feeling of loss will only last for a short time. She may experience a brief period of panic, as she may attempt to reunite with you and potentially succeed. But once you're back, that sense of urgency will go away. If you don't keep your distance, she'll only value you when she thinks you're slipping away. Once she finds comfort once more, the situation reverts to its initial state. This is where the Stoic mindset comes in. You must set your own boundaries. Don't let the temporary chase make you think she'll always value you. The key is to never be fully available because, in the end, it's the fear of loss that keeps her invested. It's not about playing games. It's about recognizing your value and never allowing others to underestimate you. You must embody the Stoic principle of detachment. Stay relaxed and in charge, and never let anyone fully access you. Stop being the person she only cares about when she thinks she's losing you. It's time to change. The story. Don't be that product that everyone rushes to buy, but then forgets about once the panic is over. Instead, be that rare, hard-to-find thing that people will always want, but never fully get. If you think this way within reach, you'll cease to be the man she takes for granted and transform into the man she wishes she had retained. If you're sick of being a waste of time, it's time to break the loop. Take charge of your feelings, your life, and your worth. You can read the digital book mentioned in the next sentence to learn how to become disinterested. We need to figure out a way to halt these games and, above all, convey to her the extent of her loss. She's had enough of being walked over. It's time to be the man she didn't know she needed until it was too late. An interest. Curiosity is a strong feeling that can take over her mind. Keep her up at night and force her to do things she wouldn't normally think about. When you leave her life, when you stop chasing her and disappear without a trace, you leave a hole that her mind will fill with thoughts of you. How often do people really stop and think when they know exactly what's going on? Almost never. What interests someone is the unknown or the mystery. If you step back and don't give her any clarity, her mind starts to race as she thinks. What made him leave? Did he find someone better? Was it something I did? She can't stop thinking about all the possibilities, and with each passing moment, she wants to know more and more. One of the main ideas in Stoicism is emotional strength and control. A Stoic person doesn't react emotionally or impulsively. Instead, they understand the power of restraint. This is exactly the mindset you adopt when you disappear. You're not ghosting her out of spite or to play games. You're choosing to step back and keep your cool. Though you can't control her mental chaos, it's normal for humans. Let me tell you more about what happens in her mind when you pull away. It turns into a battlefield of doubts and questions. She'll start looking for answers in everything. Initially, she will scrutinize every post and story on your social media accounts, treating them as if they were clues in a mystery. She'll check to see if you're going out, if you've met someone new, or if your life is going on without her. Then she will reach out to your mutual friends, asking questions such as, "Has he mentioned me?" or "Is he seeing someone else?" She might even ask your family what's going on, hoping to get an answer. Her curiosity becomes such that she often makes decisions without realizing it. Stoicism holds that knowing what you can and cannot control is crucial to life. You can't change how she feels or how curious she is, but you can change your actions and your silence by not answering her. You stay cool and in control, and you become the center of her storm of questions. This emotional control is what makes you both intriguing and strong in her eyes. The more you fight it, the more she'll want to know what makes you tick. But here's a key point. Curiosity is fragile. It lives in the unknown. However, the moment you provide her with even a hint of an answer, the enchantment dissipates. If she finds out why you disappeared, or that you're purposely keeping the information from her, the mystery goes away. That's why you need to stay disciplined. Stoicism tells us that we shouldn't let our feelings control what we do. Be careful not to give her the answers she wants. If you do, you might kill the very thing that makes her think of you. If you don't control your curiosity, it can turn into an obsession. She might start showing up at places you frequent, claiming it's just a coincidence. She may look through all of your online interactions, putting together pieces of your life that you didn't even know were public. It's all part of her desperate attempt to figure out the puzzle you've become. But the truth is, she can't fully understand you, because the key to maintaining her curiosity is to keep you a mystery. For instance, when you distance yourself, you are exercising detachment by relinquishing the need for approval or closure. You understand that you don't need to justify your actions to others, and by doing so, you maintain control over her while she remains trapped in a cycle of uncertainty and inquiry. You stay at peace and don't let anything bother you as you live your life. So let her wonder and look for answers that don't exist, because in the end, curiosity may not kill the cat, but it will keep her chasing the one she can't seem to figure out. You represent the number 4. 4. Self-reflection. Imagine this. You have been present, providing her with your undivided attention, ensuring that she is aware of your interest without being overly demanding. Then one day you decide to step back, not because you're playing some game, but because you've realized your own worth. You stop texting her and stop showing up as that constant presence. Instead of being a background guy, something profound happens. The disappearance of you plunges a woman accustomed to constant attention into a spiral of confusion. She's accustomed to men competing for her time and affection, and this sudden absence is deeply impactful. You are not allowing her whims to dictate your actions, and that alone carries immense power. Fool. At first, she might just shrug it off because she knows he'll come back. That's how relationships work. But as the days pass and you continue to stay away, she begins to question, and this is where things start to change. Why isn't he pursuing me? Did I do something wrong? That seed of doubt begins to grow as she replays every conversation, message and interaction, trying to figure out what she might have done to push you away, questioning the very dynamics of your relationship. This is the discomfort the Stoics talk about, the discomfort of losing control. As you can see, women accustomed to being the center of attention often reside in a comfort zone where they hold control and others follow suit. Now that you've left, she confronts a new challenge, her loss of control. The constant approval of others once inflated her ego, but now it begins to shrink. She starts to doubt herself. Maybe she wasn't as captivating as she thought. Maybe you saw something in her that made you lose interest. These thoughts make her rethink who she is and how she's been acting. Think about a situation where you've decided to step back from someone who seemed to expect constant attention. Maybe you decided to focus on yourself for a bit. Maybe work, hobbies, or your own growth took priority. At first, it felt empowering because you weren't chasing validation anymore, but then something strange happened. She reached out to explain why your absence disrupted the usual dynamic and forced her to reflect. She began to realize that you weren't like the others, and this made her question herself. This shift in perspective for her can lead to two very different outcomes. In one scenario, she may decide she needs to win you back, making subtle moves to gauge the situation. Rupees. She might reach out to confirm your availability. It's an attempt to rekindle that connection. She's no longer attempting to dominate. Instead, she's seeking her own validation. Her ego demands it, as she's unaccustomed to uncertainty. However, from a Stoic perspective, your power resides in your indifference. You don't react emotionally. You've already decided to focus on your own path, so whether or not she returns doesn't affect you in the other scenario. Io. Given all the challenges she's encountered, she may reconsider her decision. She might decide that being away from you is beneficial for her. They may convince themselves that you weren't worth the trouble or that the connection wasn't strong enough. But even if she moves on, she'll always remember you as the one who followed the rules. You'll stay in her mind as someone who didn't want to put on a show, and that's something she won't easily forget. In the end, while she's thinking about what went wrong, you've already moved on and turned your attention back to what really matters: your growth, your plans and goals. That's when she realizes she wasn't in charge after all. That's when the reality check comes in. Sometimes she causes problems, not you or the other guys. And here's the ultimate victory. You win not by getting her back, but by choosing yourself. By choosing the right path, you've gained something far more valuable than her attention: control over your own emotions. That, in the end, is the real victory. 5. She'll pursue you, part where the tables turn and things get really interesting. You see, when you suddenly disappear, when you pull away, without any explanation, it lights a fire inside her. It's like flipping a switch that she didn't even know existed. A mix of rejection and curiosity takes over, and before you know it, she's chasing you. Yes, my friend, it happens more than you think. Imagine this scenario: you've stopped texting, you're no longer available like you used to be, and suddenly she finds herself wondering what happened, what changed, why are you no longer under her influence? This is where it gets fascinating. You're no longer predictable, and in her mind she starts to lose control over the situation. And this right here is the spark that fuels her obsession. Now let me break it down for you. Her first move is subtle but deliberate. She'll start keeping tabs on your online presence like a hawk. Every time you post something on social media, guess who's the first to view it? That's right. She will be right there, watching every story you share, every photo you upload. And don't be surprised if she suddenly starts liking pictures from years ago. Yes, even those awkward ones from 2018. Why? Because she wants you to notice that she's still watching, she's still interested. But it doesn't stop there. If she doesn't get enough information, she might go even further. She'll get creative, maybe even create fake profiles to keep tabs on you without being noticed. It's like she turns into a digital detective, hunting for clues about where you are, who you're with, and most importantly, whether you've moved on without her. And just when you think that's all she'll do, she'll enlist back up. She might send a friend to follow your account quietly, stalking every post you make. Maybe that friend's husband will even join the surveillance team, just to keep things discreet. It's like a game where she refuses to lose control, refusing to admit that she's being affected by your absence. You see, this behavior isn't as rare as it might seem. In fact, by pulling away, you've ignited a sense of urgency in her mind. Suddenly she realizes she's not the one calling the shots anymore, and that stirs something deep inside. She doesn't want to confront you directly. That would mean acknowledging her feelings. Instead, she operates behind the scenes, trying to figure out what's going on without exposing her true emotions in the world of Stoicism. This is where the power of detachment comes into play. By stepping back, you're practicing one of the core tenets, understanding what is within your control and letting go of what isn't. You're not trying to manipulate her, but rather you're focusing on yourself, your own peace of mind, and that's what throws her off. She can tell when you change your mind, and it makes her want to know more about you. Have you seen this kind of behavior before? Perhaps you've taken a step back, and now she's showing more interest than ever, persistently stalking your social media accounts or asking your friends about you. Let me know in the comments, because I'm sure some of you have seen this happen firsthand. After learning how pulling away can change the situation, think about it. Have you ever stepped back and made her come after you? Or are you seeing signs that she's trying to get back into your life? 6. Happiness or sadness. Let's talk about the idea of comfort. You might be giving her exactly what she wanted when you pull away, even if you didn't see it coming. Maybe she was exhausted of the connection, emotionally checked out, or didn't see a future with you. Your absence might have been a blessing in disguise, freeing her from a situation that no longer served her. She might breathe a sigh of relief and think, finally, I don't have to deal with this anymore. Despite the bitterness, Stoics teach that you must accept reality as it is, not as you wish. Perhaps you were clinging to something that had already vanished. In this case, your leaving wasn't a loss for her. It was a gain. This is where Stoicism really shines through. Instead of holding on to the past, you learn to let go, knowing that no relationship can last on one person's work alone. Let's now examine the opposing viewpoint. Now things get interesting. You disappeared, leaving her to think about you. She might begin replaying your recent conversations. She thinks about the positive times they had together and slowly comes to the understanding that she might have done something wrong. Maybe she lied, took you for granted, or didn't value your contributions. Suddenly, the absence overwhelms her more than she anticipated, leaving her with a deep sense of regret. This is where her ego begins to battle. Is there still a chance to mend what has been broken right now? You have the power, my friend. Stoicism teaches us to stay calm in these situations and not make hasty decisions based on our feelings. Wisdom tells you to think about what you want to do before you act. If she does reach out to talk, you need to ask yourself if you really want to go down that path again. Saving a relationship requires a genuine desire to rebuild, to let go of the games, and to work on creating something better for both parties involved. Stoics tell us to only think about the things we can change. You can't change how she feels or the choices she makes, but you can change how you react, and that's where your power lies, no matter how she feels. You need to keep your own sense of self-worth in check. Accept her move on with grace. If she feels awful about what she did, don't rush back in without thinking about whether things can really change in the end. You realize your worth and choose the path that works for you, not just feel better or regret something. Giving her another chance or continuing on your own journey with intention, calmness and clarity is most important. As the Stoics would say, true freedom doesn't come from outside situations, it comes from how strong you are inside. She's going to play the game. When you distance yourself from a woman, she may perceive it as a challenge, and some women will respond with a vengeance. They'll think, he's pulling away. Let's see who really has the power here. This is where things can get tricky. What started as you pulling away can quickly turn into a psychological tug-of-war. Stoicism teaches us how important it is to stay calm in the face of external events, and this is where that way of thinking becomes very important. As soon as she senses that you've moved away, she may feel like she has no control over her feelings, which for some is unbearable, so she'll play the classic game of cat and mouse instead of facing them head-on. The game aims to provoke contemplation. One day, out of the blue, she texts you something casual, maybe even funny, and you start to feel like things are back to normal. But then, out of the blue, she disappears, leaving you staring at your phone with no answers or updates. Your mind is racing with questions like, what is she doing? Who is she with? This is exactly the response she wanted. By disappearing, she throws you off balance. She has fundamentally rewritten the narrative, positioning you as the pursuer. This is where Stoicism comes in. Marcus Aurelius said, we can only control reactions to others' actions. When she manipulates you, you have two options. You can let yourself become confused and angry, or you can stay calm and ignore the chaos she's trying to cause. She may make subtle insinuations such as, hope you're doing well, prompting you to question whether she truly cares or if she's merely manipulating you. This uncertainty fuels your anxiety, giving her the advantage. This is an example. Imagine you're at a party and see her across the room. You have not seen her in some time, but she suddenly appears to be laughing and conversing with someone else, as if she has moved on. Without thinking, you may feel sick, wondering what she's doing, but calmness is key. As Ali Epicus said, how you react to your circumstances is more important than your circumstances. You could let your anger and jealousy take over, or you could stay calm and know that her actions don't define your peace of mind. You see, her actions are a way for her to regain the control she feels she lost when you pulled away. It's not so much about you, it's about keeping her sense of power. She can't claim that your withdrawal caused her discomfort, so she engages in these games to regain your trust. But here's the catch. If you get involved, you give her exactly what she wants: control. So what's the Stoic response to this game? It's simple. Let her play it alone. Don't react to her vague messages or disappearances. Don't chase her for answers. Remember that your peace of mind is in your own hands. The moment you stop responding, the game loses its power. She may try to cause trouble, but your strength lies in your ability to not let it bother you. The real question is whether you will succumb to the trap or rise above it by adhering to the Stoic advice of remaining calm in the face of chaos. The choice is yours. Number 8. The weight of silence. Think about it when you go. 8. How heavy is silence? When you go silent, you're not just leaving the conversation, you're entering her thoughts. Suddenly, your absence becomes more noticeable than any words you could have uttered. This leaves her with numerous unanswered questions. What happened? Did he quit? Is he seeing someone else? The silence begins to have a profound effect on her, causing her to overthink, overanalyze, and most importantly, fear your permanent disappearance. This is so powerful because it taps into a very basic human emotion, the fear of loss. No one enjoys feeling alone or abandoned, and when you create that distance, it makes her uncomfortable and motivates her to take action. In this way, silence is more than just a break in communication. It's a powerful psychological tool from a Stoic point of view. Silence is more than just a mystery. Stoics teach us that our feelings shouldn't control what we do. And in this case, your silence shows how strong you are inside. You're not reacting to everything she says, and you're not jumping to explain yourself or look for approval. You maintain your composure, confidence, and resist the urge to constantly converse with her. People will value you when you can control yourself in this way, as it demonstrates that you don't need her approval to feel good about yourself. Also, my friend is very attractive. Let's say you've been dating a woman for a while and have been texting and calling her all the time. All of a sudden, you stop. She sends you a message and this time you don't reply right away. She starts to wonder why you're not responding. What you've done is create uncertainty. Where there's uncertainty, there's interest. She thinks about you more than ever, replaying talks, wondering why she did what she did, and musing about how she feels. This doesn't mean she's going away. They disappear for weeks on end, giving the impression of deceit. Stoicism says that balance is the key. It's about knowing when to step back just enough to spark interest without making people angry. If you've always been available, getting silent all of a sudden can seem dishonest. However, if you've always maintained your independence, your silence becomes an integral part of your personality, a mystery she seeks to unravel. Let's face it, nobody likes someone who is always the same. If you're the type of guy who always responds immediately and is willing to explain yourself, you become daring. I say that being boring and predictable makes things dull, but when you pull back, you show her that your time and attention are valuable. You show her that you're not always available, which makes her want to chase after you. This is where the real power lies, in controlling what you reveal. Not just being quiet, but mastering silence as a form of communication. You don't have to explain everything. Mystery is much more captivating than clarity. In that space of silence, she'll start to try harder to figure out what you're thinking and how she can win you back. But there's an important Stoic lesson here as well. Silence doesn't mean playing games. It's not about controlling her emotions. It's about standing firm in your value. Epictetus said that mindsets, not things, bother us. Your silence should come from a place of strength. If you believe in yourself, being quiet shows it. Don't talk constantly to show interest or get her approval. So how do you find a balance? First, realize that your time and attention are gifts, not guarantees. When you accept silence, you allow her to miss you and appreciate your presence. This is where the Stoic idea of detachment comes in. Regardless of whether she pursues you or not, you remain unattached to her response. This is because you're in charge of your emotions and actions. And here's the best part. When you finally do speak, your words will carry more weight because your silence has shown that you're thoughtful, deliberate, and above all, in control. Avoid saying too much and focus on what you don't say. If you know how to use it right, silence can be your most powerful weapon. As we've seen today, filling the silence can differentiate between being just another guy and becoming the man she can't stop thinking about. So the next time you want to fill the silence, think twice and let it work for you. The loudest message you can send is sometimes the one you silence. Conclusion and the Stoic practice of detachment make it clear that stepping back isn't just about making things mysterious. It's also about valuing your own peace of mind and letting other people deal with their thoughts and actions. In the big picture, this method not only teaches us about the power of self-worth and independence, but it also makes us think about how we interact with others. The Stoic way of thinking gives us a strong way to control our actions and expectations, whether we're trying to get someone interested again or just find balance in our relationships. It tells us that the only thing we can really control in a relationship is ourselves. As you think about today's insights, think about how stepping back might change the dynamics of your own relationship. How could a little distance help your friendship and personal growth? Keep in mind, the ultimate objective isn't solely to pique people's interest or elicit a response. It's to cultivate genuine self-respect and tranquility, which will inevitably attract others. Now, if you found today's content helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more insights. Also, let me know what you think and have experienced about today's topic by leaving a comment below and rating this video on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the best and 1 being the worst. Your feedback helps us make our videos better and more relevant to your interests. Before you leave, make sure to watch the videos on your screen for more Stoic wisdom and useful advice on how to deal with life's problems. Let's go deeper with us, get motivated, and keep going on this path of self-discovery and growth. Thanks for watching, and remember that the Stoics said, "The obstacle is the way." Keep going, and I'll see you in the next film.